We laugh, we cry, we live, we die, we dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we can call our very own. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a need to be together. We have our hearts to give. We have our thoughts to receive. And we believe that sharing is an answer. A child is born among us and we feel a special glow. We see time's endless journey as we watch the baby grow. The thrill to hear imagination freely running wild. We dedicate our minds and hearts to the spirit of this child. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a time to be together. And with the grace of age, we share the wonder of youth. And we believe that growing is an answer. Our lives are full of wonder and our time is very brief. The death of one among us fills us all with pain and grief. But as we live, so shall we die, and when our lives are done, the memories we shared with friends will linger on and on. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a place to be together. We have the right to grow. We have the gift to believe that peace within our living is an answer. We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the waste of human strife. We search for truth, equality, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here to make sense of what we find. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a joy being together. And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see, even to question truly is an answer.
Thank you so much to all the musicians who made that possible. Our opening words this morning are two excerpts from two somewhat similar poems written very far apart in time. One is from the late, great Langston Hughes, and the other from the very much alive Amanda Gorman. This is an excerpt from Let America Be America Again. Oh, let America be America again. The land that never has been yet, and yet must be. The land where every man is free. The land that's mine, the poor man's Indians, Negroes, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain must bring back our mighty dream again. Sure, call me any ugly name you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on the people's lives, we must take back our land again, America. Oh yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me. And yet I swear this oath, America will be. An excerpt from The Hill We Climb. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left with. Every breath from my bronze-pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limb hills of the west. We will rise from the windswept northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South, and we will rebuild, reconcile, and recover. And every known nook of our nation and every corner called our country, our people diverse and beautiful will emerge, battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Parish on this cold morning. And you know, one of the things that I find interesting that sometimes we take for granted are how many people come together to make a Sunday morning service. I was looking at that slide of Langston Hughes and Amanda Gorman while Annie was talking. And this week, Webb Tilney made these slides, and we talked about that particular slide because he found a very young picture of Langston Hughes that I had never seen before. And I thought it was a stunningly beautiful, handsome young man. And we usually see him as the older man with the mustache and with the glasses. And I really appreciated that Webb had taken the time to find a different picture, a different perspective of Langston Hughes. Also, I want to thank Mark Bailey, who's running the tech this morning. Everyone wave to Mark. Hey, Mark. You know, it's a true village here at First Parish. And these services don't happen with just one person. They happen with many. So speaking of many, that prelude, it was recorded all the way back in October, just in case you thought it may have been recorded this morning. It wasn't. And when we made that video, we knew that we would be using it at a future service, probably in November, not at the end of January, when I woke up this morning and it was 10 degrees. And it made me think about the connection of that video to the future from October to now. It also made me think of a future where sometime, and it will happen, we will be back in that sanctuary. I looked at those doors and I wanted to walk through them and I wanted to be there with you. And so what I'd like for everyone to do as part of this welcome this morning is I'd like for you to close your eyes for about 10 seconds and envision yourself sitting in that sanctuary, sitting with each other, hearing each other breathe, being annoyed that the person beside you is moving around when you would like them to stay still. I just want you to envision what the future will be. Okay, come back. And now, alas, the present is here we are on Zoom. And I've got some announcements to make for you. So the first announcement is for those who checked in early, as you saw, you are now able to have closed captioning. And I want to thank Lee Volderer and Dean Groves for pushing this through. And at least on my screen, it just started to appear. Did everyone see that? So everyone, big applause for these people. They did a great job. Thank you, Lee and Dean. It was great. So for our announcements this morning, we have our usual COVID testing, which if you go to the uubedford.org website, you can sign up, and that is the only way that you should come to the COVID testing. Make sure you make an appointment. We're all eager to get out of this, but for those who saw the news that Stephen Lynch, who had gotten both shots, now is asymptomatic with COVID, it proves that we all still need to be safe. Please be safe. Also, I'd like to remind everyone that on Friday afternoon, the 12th of February at 4 p.m., there is a memorial service for Donna Cole. John Gibbons sent out a link to that on the anno list this past week. If you did not get that link, make sure that you either get in contact with me or with John or with Joan, any of us, and we'll be able to send you the link again. I also want to look forward to the future, to the service on Sunday, February 14th, the Sunday morning service. It's called All You Need Is Beloved Community. And it's being led by Reverend Annie and Deb Weiner. Basically, we often say that all you need is love, but reaching to create a new beloved community is challenging work. How can we make this idea be real? You know, our youth will help us imagine the way forward. That's what we think. We'll celebrate the enduring importance of love and the importance of trying everything when our efforts to create the reality we imagine don't turn out the way we first hoped. Making that announcement this morning is perfect for this service. It's all about looking to the future, and that service, not only are we looking to the future of that service is also looking to the future, a hopeful future. On the afternoon of February 14th, in case you didn't remember, it's Valentine's Day. I will be hosting a Valentine's sing-along, much in the way that I did my Christmas sing-along, only this time it's with love songs. We'll have a lot of special guests, and the music committee is making bags, goodie bags, because afterwards we will have a reception. And if you come and pick up a bag, you will be at the reception. The bags will be handed out that day, and you're going to see all this information in the upcoming week in the Parishioner. So look for that. So let's join together as we read the unison affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley. Este es nuestro gran pacto, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor y ayudamos los unos a los otros.
Thank you so much, Brad. Good morning, everybody. I'm Deb Weiner, and I have a story to share with you. Have you ever had one of those times when things just didn't work out quite the way you had planned, and you got really disappointed and thought it's all over? Maybe that's happened a lot recently. I've had it happen before in all kinds of situations, making popovers for breakfast that did not pop, going to a museum that has an exhibit I really want to see, except that when you get there, it's closed. Planning a vacation that doesn't happen. That happened to me about 4 times this summer, and I bet some of you had that. Yeah. Even going to the store for some ingredient that you really need, and then it's out of stock. Can you relate to that? So maybe you heard about this little girl in Wisconsin who took the lemons that life was handing out and made lemonade, which benefited a whole lot of people. Now, this is Morgan Marsh McGlone, and she is 8 years old. At the time that she came up with her idea of having a lemonade stand, she was 7 years old. And she had heard about the wildfires that were burning in Australia, threatening not only the land, but the koalas and the other animals that live in the bush. She said, my dream is basically just to help a lot of people, since that is what I really like to do. So she decided that she was going to try to raise some money. And like a lot of people, she thought that having a lemonade stand was a really good thing to do in the summertime. And then the pandemic struck. Morgan found out that there were a lot of kids in her school who had depended on free breakfasts and lunches to eat. And when the schools closed, those kids were going hungry. So she decided to make the lemonade stand virtual. Anyone who donated would get a voucher for lemonade to be redeemed at an area restaurant that was trying to feed hungry people. Well, I'm here to tell you that it took off big time. The virtual fundraiser has thus far brought in over $50,000 for a kitchen that is helping to feed hungry people in Wisconsin, which is just amazing. Morgan said, I love to help. And when you help, you get this feeling that even though you're not doing anything for yourself, you're still happy because you're helping and making people's lives better. It wasn't a project that Morgan started out to do, but she wanted more than anything to help, and she adapted to the need and the times to make it happen. Everything was changed, but an 8-year-old saw what was possible. Now, Amanda Gorman, the first young adult U.S. poet laureate, held a vision for the possible in her recent poem delivered at Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's inauguration ceremony. Gorman was asked to write a poem for the inauguration, and then something completely unexpected, terrible beyond imagining happened: a riot in the U.S. Capitol. How do you turn that into poetry? How to inspire people who were still shaking from the challenges to our country? Gorman found the words, the essence, different from what she thought she was first going to do. She wrote, "We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain: if we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright." In the end, with challenges and opportunities all around us, Amanda Gorman laid out the possibilities. Again, mirroring the words that Annie shared at the beginning of our service today. When day comes, We step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. Be it. See it. We make lemonade from lemons with missteps and mistakes that move us forward with vision, courage, and with the belief that something unimaginable might be possible. It turns out that all those things can make some pretty tasty lemonade. Have some. So I invite you to take a breath, because breathing is important. And we are going to move to sharing our joys and concerns. And I want to encourage you, as has been our practice, to raise your virtual hand if you have a joy or concern to share. Yeah. And Susan Lincoln is joining me. And Susan, I believe that you can unmute. Would you like to start us off?
Sure, thanks, Deb. Again, I'm Susan Lincoln, and as a member of the Lay Pastoral Care Team, I'd like to invite you to share your joys or concerns with the community. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to light this candle virtually for all of you to honor all those joys and concerns that we're sitting with quietly and not sharing publicly right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And in lieu of what could otherwise be a reading, we'll have a clip from a podcast in which we visit the future.
Got it? Great. This episode, we are starting in the year 2042.
Hello, and welcome to the Federal Housing Hotline. If you are a current tenant, please press 1. If you are a prospective tenant, please press 2. To look up the status of your application, press 1. For more information about how to qualify for housing and to see if you qualify, press 2. Please enter your 7-digit zip code. Please wait a moment while we connect you with housing providers in your area.
Hello, and thank you for calling Seattle's Housing Happiness Commission. My name is Maya. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with today?
Hello, I'm Amy.
Thanks for calling, Amy. How can I help you?
Hi, I had a few questions about your program.
Well, that's what I'm here for. Ask away.
So I'm a few months behind on rent right now, and I just don't know when I'll have the money. Our car broke down, and then my son broke his wrist on the playground, and we just don't have the money. And with cutbacks at my job, my hours are way down, and I don't know when I'll have the money, and my landlord says he's done giving me leeway, and I don't know what to do.
Okay, well, first, I am really sorry about your son and your car. And before we get into what we can do for you, I also want to say that you're not alone. Unfortunately, I hear stories like this all day, every day. And I want to just say that none of this is a moral failing. You're a good mom, and we're going to get you all sorted out, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So I don't want you to worry. You can never be evicted from city housing, and your rent will always be 30% of your income. This is reevaluated monthly, so let's say you work fewer hours this month. That means your next rent payment will be lower. And if you lose your job, you won't owe any rent until you find a new job and get your first paycheck.
Wow, this is all part of that National Housing Act that passed last year?
That's right.
But I don't understand. Taxes can't be paying for all of this.
Well, the National Housing Act raised property taxes for landlords who own 20 or more homes. There are almost 1 million landlords like that in the country. They all have to pay more taxes now, which helps fund the program. So let me ask you a few questions. How many members of your family?
3. Me and my 2 sons.
Okay, great. And how old are they?
6 and 12.
Okay, so you probably want 2 bedrooms, at least, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
And do any of you have accessibility needs?
Oh, well, I use a cane.
Okay, noted. Anything else I should know?
I don't think so. Oh, do you need a background check?
Nope.
I just don't want to get my hopes up in case.
Our program doesn't care what might be in your record, or if you're clean or sober or any of that. We provide housing and services, no matter what. That's our job.
Here ends our brief visit to the future.
And now we think of all the good things that First Parish has done for us. Annie mentioned them. I mentioned them. Deb mentioned them. You closed your eyes and you wished you were there. Please do what you can to help the good works of our beloved community. For the music for the offertory, it is I Know a Place. I don't have to say anything else to introduce it because the music, the song, and the performers tell you everything you need to know.
I knew when you told me you don't want to go home tonight, and you try to just shrug it off when I asked you why. Somebody hurt you, somebody hurt you. Ooh.
And I knew, 'cause I can recall I was the one in your seat. I still got scars and they occasionally bleed. 'Cause somebody hurt me, but I'm staying alive.
And I can tell when you get nervous, you think being yourself means being unworthy, and it's hard to love with a heart that's hurting. But if you want to go out dancing, I know a place we can go, where everyone gonna lay down their weapon, just give me trust and watch what'll happen if you lay down your weapon. Oh,
Just to lay down your weapon. Whoa.
lay down your weapon. They will try to make you unhappy. Don't let that they will try to tell you you're not free. Don't listen. I know a place where you don't need protection, even if it's only in my imagination.
I know a place we can go, where everyone gonna lay down the weapon, Just give me trust and anything can happen, 'cause I know a place we can
Thank you. Thank you for what you give. Thank you for working hard to create that place. And thank you for that music. Wow, indeed. So I heard about that podcast, Flash Forward, from a friend of mine. We went on a walk and he was telling me about the episode about giving land back, where the imagined future is a future in which land has been returned to Indigenous stewardship. And I listened to that episode and it was very interesting. The podcast is not just scenes from an imagined future, it also includes interviews with various types of experts and people working on proposals here and now that move us towards those visions. And so I thought I would check out the housing episode, and I put on the podcast while I was washing dishes. And as I listened to that role play we heard the first half of, I started to cry. And I wondered why. Housing justice is not my primary justice issue. I've never faced eviction or homelessness. What was it about that triggered so much feeling in me? And I realized it was because I could hear in the voice of the actor playing the mom looking for housing over and over a question. Am I worthy? Am I good enough? Do I deserve this? And over from the woman playing the hotline answer, yes, this is for everyone, for everyone, for everyone. And it is one thing to say that housing is a human right, to advocate, even to go out to a protest with City Life Vida Urbana, an organization in Boston I used to rally with regularly back when crowds of people were a safe thing. In fact, one of the first chants that Moira learned was a chant against the City Realty Management Company that owns many properties in Boston and exploits many of its tenants. When she was just barely forming words, she could chant, "CRM, you can't hide, we can see your greedy side." It is one thing to do all of that, but it is somehow another thing entirely to really imagine this scene so mundane, so simple. Am I worthy of housing? Yes, it is for everyone. It reminds me too much of some of the calls and the emails that the Boston Immigration Justice Accompaniment Network gets. People who want to prove to us that they are worthy of us paying their immigration bond or their family members' immigration bond or their client's immigration bond. And we say, yes, we pay bonds for everyone with a connection to Massachusetts. We do not need you to tell us that you are not a criminal or that you have changed your ways or that your children need you. This is for everyone in our community. That's what I mean when I say that I am an abolitionist, when I say that I am a universalist. What I mean is that I'm trying so hard to affirm and promote that first principle that we covenant to, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And it is very easy to forget. It is very easy to believe all the lies that society is feeding us with frantic advertising and convoluted meritocracies. So easy to fall into a trap of believing that we are not worthy, believing that they are not worthy, or believing that if they are worthy, that means we are not worthy. It's so easy. We often don't even notice it happening. When I was 13 years old, I developed an eating disorder. Because going to middle school was a hard transition, and because my grandfather's sudden death the year before had pulled a loose string in the fabric of my family, and the whole warm, cozy sweater I had gotten used to was rapidly unraveling, and because I needed something to control other than my grades, which came too easily for me, and because despite my at-home media consumption being limited to PBS Kids shows and overhearing my parents listening to NPR, our insidious culture had still found its ways into my brain. For 8 years, off and on, I moved in and out of periods of disordered behavior, sometimes doing better, sometimes doing worse. Always managing to stay functional and healthy enough to participate in my many activities: cross country, speech team, theater, orchestra, then at boarding school, more theater, dance, volunteer tutoring. Then in college, leading the UU club, more theater, more volunteering, work study in the chapel, and then in the Civic Engagement Center. It was my sophomore year roommate, Molly, who pushed me into treatment, risking our friendship and ending our roommate relationship. And it was the Emily program in St. Paul, Minnesota that provided the therapists and the programming. And it was my parents who paid those bills. For all of that, I am still deeply grateful. And it was a vision that kept me moving through the recovery process. A vision I found initially more scary than beautiful, but still deeply compelling. I don't remember if the vision came from me, from the friend Molly who had recovered from an eating disorder in high school, or from one of my therapists. I just remember trying to imagine what it would be like to go to a meal, maybe out to dinner, maybe even to a holiday like Thanksgiving, and just eat what I felt like without stress or shame or disordered behaviors, to enjoy food and company. This vision seemed like an impossible fantasy. It seemed so far away. And it also terrified me. Who would I have to become if I could do that? Someone who had no self-control? Someone who was lazy or selfish or bad? Could my worth really be inherent and have nothing to do with calories or clothing sizes or numbers on a scale? And if my worth didn't have to do with those numbers, what about grades? What about my bank account? Would everything fall apart if I actually believed the things I proclaimed to be affirming and promoting? I was scared, and it seemed laughably unrealistic, but I inched toward that vision anyway. One day with no disordered behavior. 1 week without looking at a scale. 1 outing to get ice cream with no panic attack afterward. Ordering a regular non-diet soda. Getting seconds at Thanksgiving without making elaborate internal agreements. Inch by inch until I had finally arrived in my vision. There was no single moment, no big reveal. Nothing had fallen apart, and I maintained good grades the whole time, though it would have been okay if I had not. I did accidentally overdraw my bank account during my senior year of college, though. You win some, you lose some. I find that visions of liberation are usually like this. As mundane as eating a meal with friends and enjoying it, or calling a housing hotline and receiving a case number. And as radical as believing that fat bodies are good bodies and people with criminal records deserve a good life. These visions are compelling and terrifying. What do we have to give up to not just say everyone deserves housing, but to actually live that vision? Some will have to give up wealth, and we will have to give up aspects of our current economic system. And most of all, we will have to give up the idea that only some of us deserve housing. We will have to risk the wild notion that even people who are addicted or mentally ill or have done violent harm deserve safe, comfortable lodging. And we will have to risk the notion that we too are worthy if we find ourselves in one of those categories, or that we would be worthy even without the job or the education or the money or how very hard we have tried. What are the visions that scare and move you? What liberation are you longing for? I know that some of you envision a world without nuclear weapons or a world without reliance on fossil fuels. I know that some of you envision a world where we never have another name to chant because nobody gets killed by police, or a world in which our beloved sanctuary guest is home safe with her sons. I know some of you envision a Bedford with more trees and public space, or a First Parish community where people with disabilities are fully included. I bet some of you envision your own personal liberation too. Days where there is rest and balance and connection. Nights where you end the day feeling good about what you accomplished and are able to relax. Evenings where you do not need to numb out with those drinks, that sugar, those 4 TV episodes in a row. These are all good visions. And they are all scary visions. We might have to give up the idea that power is protection, or our ability to eat foods from all over the world out of season. We might have to give up our current concepts of safety or our sense that playing by the rules is fair. We might have to give up the ability to buy control, our own comfort and convenience. We might have to give up the idea that our productivity is our worth, might have to risk failure or rejection, might have to face feelings of shame, fear, and grief. We might have to admit that we need help. These are scary visions, but yes, they are good visions, and I believe we can move toward them, inch by inch. Though it is not always easy to know for sure that we are indeed moving toward our visions. Sometimes I find it confusing and I wonder if I'm moving toward my beautiful, scary vision, or if maybe I've been tricked into heading for some other vision, something more realistic that someone says is more attainable or all we can get. If I try to get vaccinated right now through this strange clergy loophole that has come to be in Massachusetts, am I moving toward a vision of everyone being vaccinated and our state being safer? Or am I caving into a vision where people with more resources and less risk can get things because that's how it goes? If I support a police reform bill that pumps more money into police departments for the sake of making them less biased, am I moving toward a vision of racial justice? Or am I sacrificing abolition for the sake of a world where policing is much the same but less egregious? Sometimes I worry that every move that is possible in our current reality is a move sideways or backwards, nothing toward liberation in reality. But then I hear about the massive criminal justice reform bill passed back in my home state of Illinois, awaiting the governor's signature. The one that actually abolishes cash bail in a meaningful way. And I think, oh, Okay. Then I hear a podcast about housing for all and the Housing First programs that work so well to combat homelessness. And I think, oh, okay. Yes, we are trying to live into a vision we have not yet ever realized. And that is hard. America was never America to me, reminds Langston Hughes. But still he proclaims America will be. When I get very demoralized about the possibility of moving towards visions of liberation, I remember a piece of writing by Adrienne Maree Brown. I know I quote her too much, but then again, can there be too much of a good thing? In 2017, she wrote a piece called Harriet is a North Star. She writes, I can't stop thinking about Harriet Tubman. I think about all the resources she did not have at her disposal. Grants, organizations, markers and post-its, masses, privilege, a copy machine, social media, social norms, a job that could be done with recognition and safety. She did not have a perfect language with which to critique her oppressors, a quick way to travel, time to suffer fools. She had a vision. My people are free. A theory of change. I will physically lead to freedom those who know they are slaves. A gift for adaptation. The Underground Railroad was about finding the next open space in a series of precarious moves across a deadly chessboard. And her body. There ends the excerpt from Brown. She had a vision. My people are free. Though her people were literally sold like objects, chained, tortured in every way possible, she had a vision. My people are free. She moved toward it. So again, what are your visions? The big ones that are for every person on this planet, and the little ones that are just for you. Make sure they are visions of freedom and liberation. Make sure they are visions that reflect our first principle. Make sure they grow from that wild idea that each of us is inherently worthy no matter what. And then let those visions be your North Star. In this cold time of loss and limitations, of grief and crisis, as a new administration and vaccines open up possibilities before us, let us dare to envision what our hearts long for. And let us inch toward those visions with clarity and purpose. Sometimes pausing to catch our breath, to reorient ourselves, to move through the fear. Sometimes pausing to call others to come along with us, but never settling for some small vision that someone tells us is all that we can have. In the words of Amanda Gorman, when day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. And may we be it.